I agree. Let's go on the offensive side of the ball. You kind of talked about that. I think one guy that's kind of been, I don't know, surprising, but it's a contract year, so I guess it's really not surprising.
From the city of brotherly love.
Goddard.
Yeah.
Moving forward today in obviously contract year,
Yeah.
leading the tight ends and touchdowns. He has half, damn near half of Jalen Hurts' touchdowns. Probably should have half because he dropped one right in his hands. Somehow stayed in that contract year healthy, like they all do,
Yeah.
when it's time to really ball. And he's been balling. I won't knock him for anything else, but the respect that he's done this year. I've always been a critic of his because he can't stay healthy, but of course, contract year he stays healthy, on his way to double digit touchdowns. So I put this out to you, bro, and I put to those everybody watching. And thank you all those. I see people jumping in and out. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff wherever you are. Follow us on all social media platforms of Money Pot Sports Podcast. Um, do we need Dallas Goddard?
I mean,
The body of
for,
work, the body of
for the
work.
rest of the year or like moving forward, I mean, you think you would
Yeah,
need
like just in
most
general, like is he an integral part of this offense moving forward? Is he an integral part to Jalen Hurts being Jalen Hurts moving forward? Is he
I think it's
interchangeable?
I think it's a damn shame that they got their mojo the way his contract aligned. I think it really is.
Yeah.
Because over these past 2 years, outside of the injuries last year, I think we can both agree Goddard was crucial to the Super Bowl run. He led the team in receiving in the playoffs. Um, I mean, he had the touchdown against the Saints or the big play against the Saints that kind of set up everything.
Yep.
Goddard he's a guy in that room. I think that Goddard was undervalued league wide because of his injuries. I also think the price on Goddard from the Eagles side was a little high.
It just
Just
went
like what
higher.
happened with Hurts. Well, I mean, I just think that, with age and everything and what kind of money he wanted, they settled in a similar sense to Josh Sweat. And I think you're right. I think he capitalizes. I think he goes and gets paid. Mark Andrews just getting paid by the Ravens doesn't help Goddard's or the Eagles side of things when it comes to Goddard's contract. But as a blocker in what they do in the run game, as well as the pass game when he's not involved, he's a dude, man. He really is. And I think that Goddard's one of the most underappreciated players on this roster over the years. I really think he is. And, when you make these money decisions and you go to throw away a guy like Gardner Johnson, who he's talked about on the back end, it sure would be nice to have that safety watching him do what he does in Chicago. We've said it over the years, that it's Isaiah Rodgers, or Darius Slay. It sure would be nice to have that guy. I don't think we would have had an answer without Goddard, just because of the way the roster's set up. Calcaterra is not that guy, so the drop-off from Goddard to Calcaterra and every other dart they threw at that position did not work out. The second best tight end on the team is Cam Latu, and he's coming on pretty strong. And the fact that he was picked up out of free agency from the Niners on a futures contract, so he's kind of on like an undrafted kind of deal in a sense.
Yeah.
Not like that, but it's a futures deal. So they have a bit of control over him at a really good price. And I just think that moving forward, he's going to be the toughest decision just because of age and value. Like you said, his value is undeniable. He is one of the best receivers, and he is the third option on the team passing-wise. I think they got a little cute with the Barkley stuff, and they kind of thought they were going to be able to just run their way to a championship again. And I think that they got out of the way of remembering that you need that tight end to either block or be that guy in the passing game to be that check down.
Yeah.
And this year he's been that guy. The running game has not worked. The passing game hasn't worked. And who has flourished? It's been a healthy Dallas Goedert.
Very strong argument there. I've always thought that Calcaterra has a knack to get open, but like you said, in the
He
blocking
can't
game,
block. He's a
Yeah.
slow receiver. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
a bona fide slot receiver. So, you can't You can't rely
Yeah.
on that guy in the NFL. That guy's great in college, but not everybody's Brock Bowers.
Yeah, of course.
Brock Bowers
Yeah,
can
yeah.
also block really well. So
Yeah, and when Goddard in that blocking, especially when they do a lot of the zone and stretch stuff, he's definitely
he's
necessary.
really he's really good on the
He's a
pulls.
big
You know what
body
I mean?
too.
He is. He's a big guy, man, and he's
Yeah,
strong. And and part of his
yeah,
injuries are that he plays violent. But I think you have to appreciate that.
yeah. He kind of runs. He runs violent. I think is really what it. I mean, he's decent after the catch, especially coming from Ertz, right, Mister Fall
I
Down.
mean, yeah, in my opinion, Goddard is. I think he's a better overall tight end than Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz is the best tight
Ooh,
end we've had, but I think he's a better overall blocker and everything that goes into it. I think that if he would have stayed healthy, there's a chance Goddard probably could have surpassed him. But Ertz's receiving ability and his knack to get open is just
yeah,
it's second to none. It's Kelsey like. You know what I mean? I mean the fact that he's done it to where he's at. I mean, it took a torn ACL to take him from being the best receiver on the Commanders in a down year, but you know probably had
and,
more
he,
yards.
and even with Wentz loved Ertz, so that was
But I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier is this mesh between Hurts and Goddard has kind of been coming on, and should that
yeah.
have been looked at more? Or are we going to talk about that down the road? As Hurts and or Brown
I
and
mean, you're
Smith.
talking about a lot of touchdowns, man. He's going to have 10 touchdowns, right? And
That's what
Hurts
I'm
only has
saying.
20.
And the design to him is like I thought it was funny. One of the guys I follow, he asked a simple question: why can't you shovel the ball to AJ or Devontae? Why does it go to Dallas every time? And I think it's because just it's easier to get him in that position to shovel the ball. It's a Chiefs type play. It's a West Coast offense.
Yeah,
The
for
play has
sure.
been ran in the NFL for years.
He used to run into Westbrook all the time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Chiefs run the same thing to Kelsey. It's a very common play in the league. I think it's not used as much to date, but it's a common
Mm.
play.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the question being posed is okay. Um, you know, why not put Brown in motion or Smith in motion? I just think the answer is that they're not really that kind of player. They're not Tyreek Hill. They're not,
Mhm.
they're not Brian Westbrook in the open field. They're great players. They're great wide receivers. But in that position, I think that play is best suited for Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we definitely need him. You know what? I think we definitely need him now that I'm thinking more because I was on the other side of this, but now that I'm thinking about it more, you can pick games this year where he was just the
He had been, but
constant.
last year was more important, dude. He really in that playoff run. If you think about it, you
Let's
go
look at
back
these numbers.
Brown and Smith had the highlights, but Goddard was the guy in that playoff run.
Chain mover.
He's and we've always complained about Hurts and the check down. He finally found the freaking check down, and he's in a
Yeah.
contract year. He won't throw to the running backs. We're never going to ask him to do that because every time he does it, he throws in the dirt. So you
Yeah.
can't ask him to do that. But God, he can check it down to that tight end with the best of them. But you can't, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the first 7 games, he had 7 touchdowns, right? And then he had 2 touchdowns this past game. They went on their run where he really wasn't part, the whole AJ kind of saga a little bit there, getting AJ more involved in the offense. And then, it was Goddard who took the hit, right? It really wasn't Smith when you noticed that because Goddard
yeah,
would have a couple catches. So it was the targets that were going to Goddard started going to,
Brown.
AJ. But
Yeah.
these last 2 games, I mean, you look at the numbers: 14 receptions, 148 yards, and 2 touches. And 17 targets. You know, 17
They're
targets and
great
14
numbers.
catches. It's
They're great
pretty
numbers.
pretty
His
solid.
run in the playoff last year was fantastic.